Soul birth versus physical birth. There is usually a time difference between physical birth and soul birth. The period of the birth and the period of the entity or soul birth is not always the same. What was the exact time of my soul birth? An hour's difference, if we would measure time by such, between the physical and the soul or spiritual birth. Please give the hour of birth. Coming in the early afternoon, or just after the forenoon, while the spiritual entrance was in the late evening. Please give exact time of physical birth and spiritual birth. These, as we find, coordinated almost as one. In the evening, 2:15. Please give the hour of my physical birth. The physical birth and spiritual birth here were different. As we find, 8:05 was the physical birth. The soul birth? 6 hours different. Not to the moment, but in general. 6 hours later. What was the exact local time of his birth, and what does it indicate? In the early hours, that is, the physical birth, and the spiritual birth very soon thereafter, 6:07 in the morning. Give the exact minute of my birth. The physical, or the spiritual? For here we find there is a variation, and the actual physical birth we find near the noon hour, the spiritual birth in the evening. Does a soul ever enter a body before it is born? It enters either at the first breath physically drawn, or during the first 24 hours of cycle activity in a material plane. Not always at the first breath. Sometimes there are hours, and there are changes even of personalities as to the seeking to enter. What keeps the physical body living until the soul enters? Spirit. For the spirit of matter, its source is life, or God, see? As to the time of birth, we have the completion of the present entity in the evening. This is not with reference to birth in the physical sense, for the taking of breath into the physical bodies, baby breathing and living, all entities are not completed. With the mental, physical, spiritual and soul forces, that is, soul entering entities become complete. In the material world, life is of the universal consciousness, as all development through that known or called evolution of life in a material plane, and is a portion of a body from conception to the transition in what is called death. That which enters as the soul is that would use, or be the companion of, that life physical body, through any given period of existence in an earth's appearance. As the variations come, these are brought by the activities of those who, through their own desire, attract or detract those that would manifest in a particular body. See? Why is there a difference, and what happened in the interim, that is, time between baby is born and decision of soul to enter? A physical being, or life, as given, is from inception, and is of an universal consciousness, see? When a physical being, or body, as this body, is brought into being by birth into the physical world, the interim between that is as of that period when the decision is being made by that soul that would occupy that individual body. What makes the difference between the physical birth and the soul birth? One, physical body is earthy, the other, soul, is truth or spiritual. That which is given to be the Creator's activity, soul, enters in, even as He breathed into him the breath of life and he became a living soul. As the sleep fell upon him, and the soul separated through the taking of man's portion, and he becoming a portion of man. That the division. Hence, when the culmination, or combination as comes through those relationships as parents are made, they are man-made, or is as of the offspring. Then that soul which comes in is from outside, see? Hence the variation. In former reading, 538.5, for this entity, what is meant by Soul and spirit took possession of this entity late in the evening. As the entity found in that physical body in life, so the spirit and soul entered in the evening, 3-4, in evening. Life is a portion of the whole cosmic world, and of the creative energy. Entities, or spirits, or soul, with its spirit, with its portion of the cosmic influence takes possession as it seemeth that influence it would have and that environ it would have. For all that a soul may experience is visioned as it enters that environ for its experience. Its faith, its hope in individuals as personalities, oft is shattered. Resource for information about soul birth. Circulating file. Soul birth.